We clear the breakwater at dawn, and the steel hull heads for cold Pacific shelf water, where giant octopus prowl the bottom.
Clouds stack fast, and rain turns the pot deck into a slick mirror under harsh work lights.
A gloved hand packs bait into an octopus pot, checking the entry funnel and latch before the next set. The pot hauler spins up, and the first buoy line comes tight as the crew braces at the rail.
Stacks of octopus pots shift with the swell, and the crew straps them down before the first pull begins.
A 65-kilogram giant Pacific octopus surges up at the surface, arms spreading wide, then slides back into white foam. The buoy line hums through the hauler, and two crewmen brace as the first pot breaks surface in rain.
Far from the ship, a giant octopus crests the surface, mantle visible for a heartbeat before it sinks away.
A deckhand guides the pot onto the deck roller, keeping the line low and controlled to avoid snapback.
A supergiant octopus rises again, skin shifting from rust to dark brown, then vanishes beneath a collapsing wave.
The pot lands on steel with a thud, and the crew flips the lid open in one practiced motion.
In open water, a massive octopus rolls near surface, suckers flashing pale before it sinks into gray.
A crewman lifts the octopus carefully, keeping arms contained, then slides it into a wet tote without struggle.
A giant octopus breaks the surface sideways, arms trailing like ropes, then disappears as thunder rumbles. The next pot rises dripping, and the crew keeps tension steady as the hauler pulls smooth and constant.
A 70-kilogram octopus lifts higher, mantle bulging above foam, then drops back with a heavy splash.
A deckhand secures a tote lid halfway, preventing escape while keeping airflow and cold water inside. A giant octopus surfaces briefly, arms curled tight, then unfolds once and slides away into dark swells.
The crew stacks filled totes along the rail, keeping walkways clear on slick steel as the ship rolls. Far out, a supergiant octopus breaks the surface, a single arm tip waving, then vanishes beneath chop.
The hauler motor groans, and the crew feeds line steadily, preventing sudden slack and snags.
An octopus mantle flashes above the surface, then disappears as a wave folds over the spot.
A deckhand cinches a tote lid shut, sealing cold air inside as rain hammers down.
A giant octopus clears the surface in a slow roll, suckers visible for a heartbeat before it sinks. The crew rebaits a pot fast, checking the latch and funnel so the next set runs clean and secure.
Another supergiant octopus surfaces at an angle, color shifting darker, then disappears into foam.
A new buoy line comes tight, and the pot rises as the stern roller squeaks under load.
In open water, a massive octopus rolls, arms trailing in a spiral, then sinks away under the next swell.
A crewman wipes salt spray from his visor and signals the hauler operator with a short nod.
A giant octopus surfaces in the distance, mantle pale against dark water, then drops back like a weight.
The buoy line tightens hard, and the crew braces as a pot clears the surface dripping seawater.
An octopus arm tip pierces the surface first, then the heavy mantle clears briefly before sinking again.
The pot swings onto deck, and the crew pins it with a boot before opening the hatch. A giant octopus rolls low and fast, skimming the surface before disappearing beneath foam.
The pot opens, and the crew guides the octopus free without tearing arms, moving slow and controlled. Far out, a supergiant octopus crests again, arms spread wide, then drops back into the swell.
A crewman hoses the deck grate, clearing slime to keep footing safe, while totes fill up.
A giant octopus surfaces in silhouette against lightning, then sinks as thunder cracks overhead.
The crew stacks filled totes toward the chilled hold, keeping lanes clear as the hull shudders in waves.
An octopus rolls and spreads its arms once more, then knifes back under as foam closes in.
The deck crane shifts a tote cluster toward the chilled hold, moving slow to avoid slips on steel.
One last supergiant octopus surfaces in the distance, then sinks away as the storm swallows the horizon.
Under pounding rain, the wide deck is packed with totes of supergiant octopus, mottled skin gleaming under harsh lights.
From a second wide angle, rows of totes and giant octopus fill steel, while waves slam the hull steadily.
The vessel eases into an industrial dock, and cranes wait silent in drizzle and sodium harbor light.
Forklifts pulled chilled totes from the deck, staging them fast and orderly on wet concrete.
Totes slide into a reefer trailer, and the door seals shut with a heavy final thump.
A forklift nudges the last pallet inside, and the reefer unit hums steadily as rain taps metal.
At receiving, a supervisor opens one tote for inspection, confirming mantle size and arm condition without ceremony. The scale platform settles, and the tote is logged with unreadable codes before rolling onward. The first station rinses whole octopus with cold spray, washing salt away in a controlled curtain. A worker grades octopus by weight and mantle size, sliding only the largest into a dedicated chilled lane.
Arms are arranged neatly for inspection, and the worker checks suckers for damage under bright lights. A gentle trim removes the beak area cleanly, and the line keeps moving without drama.
A rinse flushes the work surface, leaving mottled skin and pale flesh edges clean and clear.
Octopus are tumbled briefly in a cold wash drum, and the skin texture looks cleaner and brighter.
A worker separates the mantle from the arm cluster cleanly, keeping cuts small and controlled.
The mantle is opened and rinsed, leaving a clean cavity with no mess shown on camera.
Arms are portioned into uniform lengths, and each cut face stays clean and pale.
A sanitizing rinse resets the workstation between batches, leaving stainless steel bright and hygienic. Portions are arranged on chilled trays, spacing uniform as the cold line advances steadily forward.
A close macro shows octopus meat grain, pale color, and firm texture, with faint suction cup patterns nearby. A worker checks for remaining cartilage bits, removing tiny fragments with tweezers under bright lights.
Portions are weighed quickly, and every display remains out of focus and unreadable on camera.
Trim pieces drop into a chilled tote, and the lid closes to keep temperature stable. Finished portions pass through a cold air tunnel, edges frosting slightly as temperature drops quickly.
A worker checks firmness by touch, then returns the portion to the tray without squeezing or damage.
The portions are grouped by grade on stainless tables, and the workflow stays fast, quiet, and methodical.
At packing, an octopus portion slides into a vacuum pouch, and air is pulled out with a sharp hiss.
A sealed pack is pressed flat and checked, while every printed code remains unreadable on camera. Packages enter a blast freezer, racks rolling in as cold vapor curls around stainless frames.
Frozen packs exit with a light frost, and edges look sharp and clean under bright lights.
A glaze coat is applied lightly, forming a clear protective layer that shines on the frozen surface.
The conveyor feeds a metal detector gate, and product passes through with no alarms or stoppages.
Cartons are filled in a packing lane, and every label remains blurred and unreadable by design. Cartons are closed and taped, and stacks move forward in a steady rhythm without pauses.
A wide view shows conveyors flowing with octopus packs, workers spaced evenly, stations clean and organized.
Another wide angle follows the continuous workflow, from trimming to sealing, moving in steady rhythm. Frozen packs stack onto pallets, wrapped tight, and plastic reflects warehouse lights like glass. A forklift moves pallets into cold storage, and the heavy door closes, muting sound into a low hum.
Inside cold storage, pallets sit in neat rows, and frost gathers lightly on wrapped corners.
Pallets return to the dock door, and the cold chain handoff stays fast, quiet, and methodical. A reefer truck is loaded, and pallets slide in with precise spacing to keep airflow stable.
The trailer interior shows cold air circulating, condensation beating across plastic wrap under dim light.
At distribution, cartons transfer to another pallet stack, and every code remains unreadable in frame.
A worker scans a shipping document, but the paper stays out of focus and unreadable as pallets roll.
At retail receiving, cartons wheel into a freezer room, and the door closes with a sealed thud.
In a retail freezer aisle, a shopper opens a glass door, and fog blooms briefly across the pane.
A frozen octopus pack drops into a cart, and the camera avoids any readable labels or barcodes.
Back at home, the pack opens, and a pale octopus portion rests on a clean board under kitchen light.
The octopus simmers gently, then cools, and the surface turns opaque and firm without any drama.
A knife slices the cooked octopus cleanly, showing opaque white meat with a tight, resilient grain.
At the table, someone takes a bite, and the reaction is quiet satisfaction rather than performance.
The chef chars octopus quickly, leaving light grill marks while the interior stays firm and opaque.
A diner lifts one bite from the plated octopus dish, and the camera holds steady on the texture.
A final quality check scans sealed packs for leaks, and any printed codes remain unreadable. The end-of-line conveyor feeds directly to dock staging, showing the station busy in one uninterrupted view. Cold air moves across stainless surfaces, and workers keep spacing uniform as pallets queue neatly.
Back on the vessel, the crew washes down the pot deck and stows gear, restoring order after the storm.
In the factory, hoses rinse floors and tools, and sanitizer foam spreads evenly before draining away. A reefer unit hums in the yard, and frost gathers lightly on metal edges under night lighting.
At dawn again, dock crews stage pallets for departure, keeping airflow paths open and spacing clean.
A final inspection checks carton integrity. Then the stack is wrapped once more with tight, glossy film.
In retail, a freezer door closes, and the glass clears slowly, leaving only frost patterns and cold light.
At home, the cutting board is rinsed, and packaging is discarded cleanly, leaving the kitchen spotless.
Back at the dock, the 150-meter vessel sits quiet, plot stacks strapped down, lights reflecting on calm water.
The storm is past, and gulls circle above the harbor, while deck lights fade one by one.
Out at sea under clearer skies, a supergiant octopus surfaces calmly, mantle and arms visible in clean daylight.
The next buoy line comes tight again, and the hauler pulls smoothly with no jerks or slack. A giant octopus rolls once in clear light, suckers flashing pale before it sinks away into blue water.
The crew snaps the last tote lids shut, then wipes down rails to clear salt and spray.
Inside cold storage, Wrapped pallets sit in neat rows, and the refrigeration hum stays constant. At distribution, pallets roll past a bay door, and every label remains unreadable as they move.
In retail, the camera lingers on fogged glass and cold light, never on readable packaging.
At home, a pan sizzles as a second octopus portion finishes, steam rising in a quiet kitchen.
Back on the vessel, lines are coiled and pots are stacked tight, ready for the next calm weather pull.
Harbor water turns glassy at dusk, and the ship's deck lights glow softer with every minute.
At sunset, the 150-meter vessel leaves the harbor, deck lights fading as calm water replaces the storm.